long meeting.
Yeah.
So now that we are recording, is there any management stuff?
I don't think so.
Did we want to do the feedback form? Did you want to talk a little bit more about
I
that?
did. Thank you, Michelle. I did actually want to talk about that because I remember we talked about it some on Friday, but it's specifically over the weekend. I was thinking, Michelle wasn't here on Friday. I need to remember to talk about this at the management meeting.
Nice.
Good.
So thank you for reminding me.
Well, Caroline was the one who I didn't even know
told
it
Michelle
happened.
to look at the video.
Yeah. So I'm happy to get it in here. It sounds like an interesting
Then
conversation.
you can ask questions, right?
Yeah. We can't hear you because you're muted in both places.
That's because
I'm being signed out in some places, but I was host. I don't know how this is working. Oh, maybe it's because I wasn't logged in.
You're on your own now. You're going to be host because you're on your own.
Yeah. So I think that the recording's still working. I think we probably didn't need to switch just because I didn't realize I wasn't logged in on my Zoom, and that would be why I didn't have host. Apologies for.
But it says it's still live.
Yes, yeah, no, recording's fine now, but just realizing we didn't need to do all of that. I just needed to leave, log into Zoom, and come back, and I would have been fine.
I see. Okay.
That's my fault.
Oh, well.
Good to know.
Live and learn.
Good to know.
Let me share screen. Okay. This is not the interview. This is the interview we want. Or this is the package we want. So, this is running locally because I don't think the final stuff has been merged yet. But there's been a few different. This is going to be a long interview. There's a few different features that you can review. One of them, it's essentially the bottom banner bar. So this bottom banner bar feedback link, we can look at it when. So this is So there's bottom banner bar feedback link if you're a tester and if you're not a tester, and then the
Can
interview.
you go back one?
Yes.
Or you can't go back one.
I can.
Okay, got it. The feedback's down there if you're a tester.
Yes. It's in the same place for both actually. And it just the tester or not is whether or not the debug is equal to true on your server.
Okay, got it.
Which we have on the dev and test
account.
Don't have on production. So so there's those, and then in two screens I should still have the little interview widget, which we can look at it in a sec. But this first one is, I think, it used to be essentially there were three or four options.
Yeah.
And then there was a second screen that would, if it was a bug, it would ask for a lot of specific questions. And if it wasn't a bug, you'd only ask for essentially one just user input area every time. And so to make it simpler, everything's on one screen. It's either I'd like to tell you something or I'm looking for more help. If I'm looking for more help, we still have the sort of default kickout screen. I also added these icons that we had at some point in the earlier version of this, but it seems like they never made it to the new one, so I added those back. And then the I'd like to tell you something looks big now, but these two are optional, and so we can right now it's sort of what we'd like to tell us is just the general text field. They can go as long as they want. And then we also have this this question, which is specifically linking your answers. So if someone's making a bug report, then they're allowed to link their link their answers back with that bug report, and all it does is on the DocAssemble server. So no one anywhere else is going to see it. On the DocAssemble server, it saves this particular interview session that they started the feedback on, and then it also say if it makes a GitHub link, which I don't think I have my local DocAssemble set up for that, but if it does, it will just save the GitHub link as well. and so there's a separate interview that you can go through and say, oh, I want to look at the session that someone made this GitHub issue for,
Yeah.
and you
Oh,
can
wow.
open it, and essentially the same thing you would like just any admin can do any admin can do if it's a like multi-user session interview, then you can go through and sort of see exactly, oh, this is what they're running into, and this is what all of the variables are.
Okay.
So it gives us better debug solutions. And I think some of this explainer text was sort of already in the interview, and I just uncommented it since Quentin suggested we definitely should have it. It should be an opt-in thing.
Okay.
So that's how this is now.
Okay.
So we will sort of make this easier to read. Share my specific answers within a minute.
Okay. That was one of my
placeholder text, right, Bryce?
This is, it was text that was already in the interview, so I'm assuming people had looked at it. I uncommented it, and I was like, it's definitely not the greatest, but I want to get this in now.
Yeah, just have it to be there, yeah.
So we should make it shorter for sure before we enable it on our production server. Any thoughts on what this exact text are welcome. If we want to ruminate on it, it's sort of, I think it breaks down into this is optional. It gets shared with an administrator. It only gets shared with the administrator. It's not public. That's sort of the same thing. And then we're using it to track down your bug. And we're not going to contact you anyway. So that's sort of all of the different things we're trying to list.
Yeah.
Some of them are.
I think I'd have to sit down. Like I can do some things right off the top of my head if we want.
Yeah. No worries. I will probably in the. I don't need to make that in the same.
What? Put it into Teams and then edit it from there.
Yes, that was my idea. I was going to say I'll link to I'll link to the merged PR, but it'll still be the PR that I added. For this, and so you can go through and you can specifically comment on that specific line in the GitHub.
I do want to comment right now that I think this is a huge improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general, the idea of this looks like a huge improvement, and it does look like it's capturing the information we want. And the fact that an admin can get a shared version of the interview is great.
Helpful. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, that is good to know. It was sort of I was essentially, when I started some of this other feedback stuff, there were a few other long-standing issues there that I was like, we could do this. These aren't too hard. Okay, so I added the link specifically to that label for the PR. So anyone, even though it's closed, please comment on it, since I'll sort of just make those new issues.
Yeah. I will try to do that. Huh?
Okay, sorry.
I don't know.
I muted myself halfway through. I didn't know. But yeah, and this. Also config in the GitHub issues. Turn those things to be on, and I think they're documented too now. So.
Okay.
They're opt in by default or opt out by default.
So on the share my answers, it's yes or no, and it's would you like to be contacted? If you say yes, you put in. If you say yes, does it open up contact? Yeah.
Yep, it opens up, and if you're logged in, it just automatically adds your email that you're logged in with. And if you say no, it doesn't do anything.
We're gonna assume people probably aren't logged in.
Yeah, no, for sure. It only does the default. It just makes you enter your email. Otherwise, I figured it would be a little difficult to try and grep where the email is and the current interview and send it over.
No, I think that's
So the only
and they might use a different email for this also.
Yes. Yeah. What's that, Michelle?
So the only other thing I have is that we've in the past discussed separate screens versus show ifs, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I would defer to you, Caroline, on your thoughts about the appropriate way to do this. That's all.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot to do on one screen, and that's all really.
Well, it's a lot less than we had before. And the other
It's
thing is
true.
it opens up, so when you first look at it, it doesn't look to be quite so long, right? Because you don't have.
Yeah, this is unchecked. Both of
So
these
I
are
think
unchecked.
that's an
so it's only
invitation to
those like this.
carry on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. And it's not that long, really.
I would say I wish that at the bottom, if you say I'd like to tell you something and you go through all this, I
Mhm.
do wish that the bottom would say submit, or that there would be
Oh,
some
instead of
kind of
continue.
page to say
Yeah.
submit.
That's a good
And
point.
I like that idea.
so, but you can't do that without making a separate page.
Well, since both of them say, I could just make it say submit.
That's true.
Yeah. Just make the
Because
continue button.
because
Here.
both of these,
Except for I'm looking for more help doesn't submit anything. It continues to a page where you get information.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, right.
I don't mean to be difficult.
No, I think that's a good catch. That does make a lot of sense.
so I guess that's true. However, there's
What?
not a.
You can't make the label
Conditional.
can you?
No.
So it could be actually a thing that we do. So the thing is that
No, because
technically,
the action is conditional. The action would be conditional as well, right?
well, so okay, so
What
if it. So if the issue is that we're concerned that it's not actually submitting something to the server, we could make it actually submit something to the server. Like this could be another data point that if someone says they're looking for more help, that is actually submitted and saved on the server side. Like we not connected to anything at all. Just like, hey, an additional person needed help on this.
But that.
And from a user perspective, that's
like,
would be
and it
submitting
would
for
need to
our
look
purposes.
different from the
Yeah.
user perspective. You can
Yeah.
say, like, if we say it's submitted, if you explain that there, I mean, I think that would be pretty confusing, but if you explain that there, then that would explain the submit button. But if it looks the same as it is now to the user, then it feels like, oh, nothing was actually submitted.
So I guess the thing is we have this here. The only reason that we have this I'm looking for more help thing is so we have an automatic kickout screen.
Exactly.
Because we can't do anything.
I
don't think it would be as
can't
effective, but we could move that kickout screen to be here. Like the same.
Or you could say, I think this is what Michelle's idea is. I'd like to tell you something.
Mhm.
Just keep I'd like to tell you something on this screen, and then the rest of instead of having it open up, you do continue, and then what you'd like to the screen where you talk about what you'd like to tell you is on the next screen. That would be
that there'd be a separate screen for the rest of the I'd like to tell you something.
Yeah,
because
move
then you
that
could
to the
have
next
submit
screen.
on that screen.
So then you can then you have two separate screens for continuing, and then you could submit on the once they tell you something, and then in the same thing, then you have your kickout screen. You know what I mean?
It would add a screen basically.
Yeah.
But it would just be one screen.
That brings it. But that's the thing is that brings it right back to where we were. So.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of complexity. There might have been two screens, but there was a lot more complexity on those two screens than you have now.
Well, complexity on the back end. Part of so there were two things we wanted to change.
Well, the screen was a lot of
there was
a lot of questions there too.
So
just
let me how quickly can
so
I
two screens makes it more complex than on the back end.
Interpreter notice, does this one have a feedback button on the bottom? Might. Well, okay, so what the code used to look like, it does. So this is what everything used to look like.
Yeah.
I found a bug, it was confusing, I'd like to tell you something else, etc. You click on either of these. The bug one is a little complicated because it's a lot of steps, but both part of the form was confusing and I'd like to tell you something else were I think these are these are showing up because they're broken, but these other things were at most all this like at most essentially if you click continue here it'll actually make the issue, and so all of these things are one screen, but on the back end they're like these are all completely different questions being asked and there were different GitHub issue templates being filled in, so we simplified that. But I think like from the user's perspective there's still two different screens, and I feel like we could if like the idea was lower the bar for people actually giving us feedback, which means having everything on one screen and being able to just submit. And so I feel like the solution isn't necessarily split things back up into two screens, so we have a separate so we can have still have a separate.
The thing is, the old way, it wasn't complex just because it was two screens. There was just a lot of stuff. Period.
If you selected, I'd like to tell you something else. There wasn't a lot of complexity, and I think that was fine. I think these two screens look great. It was the other screens. It was the complexity
on the first screen where you had four options and you don't know what to pick, or maybe it's more than one. Yeah. I don't think it was the two screens either. I mean, I'm totally on the same page as Michelle on this one.
Okay.
Especially because that continue button is so confusing for people.
So I agree. I agree there, but I think the solution is not keep the continue and make two screens. I think the solution is like change the continue to be submit. Whereas we've looked up all of this stuff about Aleo on Friday of like what their forms look like.
Yeah.
And if we can find it again, this was not theirs.
It was the appearance form, wasn't it? Can you do your history, Bryce? Would that help you or no?
It is showing the
date and site. It's going to just be last 7 days. Yeah, I don't want to go through all my history on video.
Oh yeah.
I should be able to find it though.
Yeah.
But essentially, their feedback is one.
We searched for easy form, EASY forms.
That's what it was. Thank you. Yeah, but essentially theirs was one screen. It has both a like, did you like it? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
There's that security deposit demand letter. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they all are. These are all easy forms, right?
Mm-hmm. And so start program, and there's a little feedback button in the bottom. Let us know. So this is what Aleo has. And so I like the fact that you look at it, you immediately know there's a submit at the bottom. All of this stuff is there. Like I agree. I too am starting to not like what I did with the show ifs because I don't like just more complexity showing up for the user as they select things. But I do like the fact that it's all here. Not much of it. The only thing that's required is this feedback, and it's submit at the bottom, so you know that this is all you're going to have to do. And I think that's what I would much more lean towards. The user lands on the screen; they know exactly all they have to do. If it's too much for them, we can't really simplify it anymore, and that's fine. But if it's not we're not going to surprise them and then be like, ugh, there's more. I don't want to do this, and then just leave. Which is, I feel like what happens currently if they click continue. They don't know how long the interview is. They've been going through an interview that it's currently 10 screens. They don't know how much longer this current feedback interview is going to be. Is what I'm like. What I think. Why one of the reasons I think we don't get a ton of feedback now is not just that sometimes we ask for really complicated stuff. I think it's the fact that it's more than one screen.
I wish we could A/B test this because
that first screen is daunting.
First of all, like the Aleo doesn't have this thing that goes, don't tell us if you need help, don't tell us, right? So they don't have this branching path. So it's hard to compare the two because there isn't this branching path. And then our problem is because of this branching path, we have a set of users that that aren't, one set of users that are going to submit and one set of users that aren't going to submit. And like that is a different experience. So what if the concern is that they don't know that it's the last page, the last thing they're going to finish to do, that they're going to do, then we can try and do page 1 of 2, or we can try and communicate that a different way. But I don't think we can just.
Well, also remember we've got 2 feedback forms, right? We've got the feedback, which we have on every page, which people may not feel, if things are going along smoothly in the interview, they may not click the feedback until they're at the end, but that when they get to the end, we have something like this. Remember, we have our review, and that's what
completely.
we have
this.
Yeah,
we have this on the final screen,
yeah.
Which we haven't.
So I think this idea that the feedback in the bottom right,
if they give it in the middle,
in the bottom
they might
right is equivalent to a layout feedback form. I think our new review form is equivalent to Aleo's feedback form, and our feedback form is more detailed. And it may not be. You may do feedback when you're on an exit screen or something. You may. Why would you do feedback midway through the interview? And then if you have the easy form, if you have our review form, which is similar to the easy form feedback, then why would you do the feedback either, unless you want to give detailed feedback?
I think what Caroline is saying is that it's possible that people who give it in the middle of the form would be more motivated to give details, and so they would be less dissuaded by an extra screen.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of this is supposition. It
is definitely.
So I hesitate to discuss
supposition, meaning, sorry, I'm stupid.
Meaning that we're making stuff up. We don't actually know what people want and what people are doing. So I'm hesitant to talk a lot more about our guesses about what people want. But if there are concerns, like if there are specific concerns, like they don't know how many pages, then we might be able to address that a different way. Right?
I guess so. That's fair.
The other thing, Michelle, is it's not a big thing to change one way or the other. So we could put it up there now for a while, then change it. It's A/B testing in real life.
Yeah, it's not like proper A/B testing, but we can very much do pilots and change it, see how it works if we get any more.
Yeah.
And then if we can't really tell, we'll change it again. I think that might be just that is the approach. I see what y'all are saying about this being an effectively different thing, which is true. And I sort of know that. I'm more of just sort of I like the idea that is simple. And so if it is something we just can't get, then I guess that's okay.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. And again, we could be wrong. I feel like this is not set in stone.
So we can't.
That's my particular instinct.
We can't make the continue button label conditional. Is that right?
No. Not from what I know. We can ask Jonathan, but
that would solve a lot right there.
we could do some fancy JavaScript. That's not. God, I don't think that's out of the. That's not out of the question.
Without making it, without making it too. I don't think it makes sense to put a whole lot of.
I don't think it makes sense to put that much work into just this unless we have some real proof that this is going to make a difference.
Yeah, I think let's do it the way you've got it, Bryce, and make just fix that the whole thing about submit your specific answers to an administrator stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Plain language that, and then just go with it and then see how it goes. Change it in a month, see how it goes, and then make a decision then.
Okay, that's fair.
Because really,
You should
we're
write that
guessing,
down in
and
an
what
issue.
really the most valuable information we can
Yes,
get,
yeah.
is actually having it out there and see what people do with it.
Okay, yeah, I'll remember to make this conversation an issue.
And you know, it may be that we don't get, it may be that we don't get anything from feedback once we have the review form up there.
Yeah, that might be the case. So
Yeah.
okay then. Okay, I'll consider that a bit more. Minor part is get out of my way, Zoom. This is the tester version of it, and so on dev and test servers, this is the feedback form that shows up. Where the only difference is that we now have bug and we have language fix, and we still have bug, and it's one field now, but there's still like tell us all of the different things.
Right.
I think
You know-
that might need to come before.
Yeah, that's a good point. What was
I
that?
also think that this would be a very good place to have people send their answers as well. If they're testers, right? This is what I was going through. And then
This is the
save
tester.
their answers to this form.
I'm not following. This is the tester form. This is what this was
right.
filling in.
So when you're testing, you go through it and you're answering, right? You do. So if similarly to the non-testers who are having a real life issue, if the testers can send their answers to developers, why wouldn't you do that as well?
So Caroline is saying that in the other feedback form, you get the option to say, send my whole interview to an administrator.
With
Yes.
specific, yeah.
She's saying that that should be an option or automatic on the testing.
It's automatic on the testing.
Oh,
so
there you
that
go.
already- okay.
It's at the very bottom. So yeah, Michelle's right. If we
Oh,
move,
sorry, I didn't see
if
that.
we move this test, this tell us the steps bug, it will be clearer that this will automatically be shared.
Okay. All right. I didn't see that. Sorry, Bryce.
No, it's good. For sure that's something we're doing. It's just I figured it was easier to if testers I couldn't think of a valid reason that a tester would not like be okay with an admin going through and looking at the stuff that they're testing and filling in. So I was just like, they still should know. But I just do it automatically now.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I just didn't see the sentence at the bottom of the form. Sorry.
And this one ends up being I think y'all are right. This one ends up being simpler because we know it's a testing server and we still have this like this is designed to be used by testers. We still have this like, oh, here's some extra free resources if you somehow stumbled upon the wrong thing. But we don't have to explicitly separate out people who are looking for more help in this way. And I guess the only other thing, okay. Yeah, we don't need to go on this long.
Okay.
I'll make an issue for all this and I'll sort of make the smaller changes for that. Okay. Unless y'all had any other thoughts specifically on this that we want to talk about.
I will say that show if fields appearing also feel like an extension, like how much longer is this going to go on. So
I agree.
So show if versus another page is not necessarily a way to solve that problem of fatigue.
Well, Agreed. We'll find out, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And I do think actually some of these could be, they feel really long, and I could maybe just change that into like a checkbox or something that makes it feel shorter, or have default selected or stuff like that. So I'll think about that. The other half of everything is what Caroline was sort of talking about more is that we now have this in-interview thing. Normally, I think we're only planning on using it at the very end of interviews. This is just halfway through, so I could test it. And we workshopped this language a lot last week. It was originally how do you feel about this form? And we sort of landed, I think, on like, did we help you? alternatively, did this website help you? Or and I think, but we wanted to stick with more personal language. You can say yes, no. Both of these submit an action to the server that just saves a positive one or a negative one to like a database somewhere. So let's say it did. We say thanks. Either way, if you press plus or like a thumbs up or a thumbs down, we say the same thing of let us know what we could do better. You just go blah, 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 click add your review, and it says thanks. And then if you refresh, we know that you already submitted. We don't submit it again.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
It doesn't quite work if you like go back. It doesn't quite work if you go back and then forward again, because it will like undo the actions because of how DocAssemble works. I think it undoes the actions and the variables that I set to show that we already answered it. But given it will be on the last screen, I expect we're encouraging people to use the review button and not going back into the interview. So I don't think it'll be a thing people run into too much.
Someday you'll have to show me how you get it to disappear like that on the same page. I would suggest putting the did we help you not in the middle. I don't know where we want it, but in the middle doesn't quite make sense.
Agree.
And there's some simple
He just stuck it there to make it.
Okay.
This is all it looks like. I think under is the thing. You can do under, right? On a question?
I think so.
Let's see. Ideally, this just shoves it under everything. I think under the next button too, if it works. Yeah. So likely would go somewhere down here instead.
Okay. So the other thing is, I think that this could use some plain language and consistency. Like there's no dash between the e file and the question, and the word.
So okay, this question is completely unrelated. It's an in progress interview. All we're looking at is the little widget.
Oh, got it. I'm so sorry. Okay.
No, you're good. It's this is an in progress interview that I'm working on for the Appeals Court. So it's nowhere near. I haven't even got all the features in, so it's nowhere near a plain language review yet. Sorry.
Yeah. No worries. Okay. Yeah.
See, Michelle, I think that people will probably be using this more than the feedback at the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, unless they run into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
I think it looks cool.
Awesome. Good to hear. And for completion, not a thing that it's definitely beta for any reason, but for actually looking at those reviews, we have an admin only interview that's now a part of the feedback form that shows, hey, you got 30 people have responded, and on average your score is oh yeah, they're all me just typing random stuff. These are the actual text of what people said. This is the average of I think it's +1. Yeah, so +1 is thumbs up, -1 is thumbs down. So 0 is completely split, and where I did slightly more +1s. So
all right.
So that's all we got.
Okay.
Just for completion.
That's freaking awesome.
Cool. So that's
looks amazing, Bryce.
Thanks. Okay, so that was a good conversation, at least about the form. I'll change the small things that we talked about. That would be super easy. And I'll make issues for the longer, let's reconsider some of this and ad hoc A/B test it, maybe. We could probably implement an A/B tester in DocAssemble, but I think if we did that, we would want to make it more general. So, yeah. That's it.
Okay. Hey, wait, to make what more general? Sorry, I was writing down what I needed to do.
Oh, no. You had mentioned making it doing A/B testing, and I'm realizing we could do A/B testing. We could have a package in DocAssemble that makes a random, generates a random value, and then if the random value is greater than 0.5, show this screen, and if it's less than 0.5, show this other screen. But that is more... Yeah, that's a fuller project. I don't think we would want to try and develop that just for this GitHub thing. I think we would want to make that general so we could do that on a lot of interviews.
Yes.
That seems use
Yeah.
down the line.
Something
But
for
we
the
don't-
toolbox.
something for the toolbox. Yeah.
Maybe add that as an issue. You have a lot of issues. I don't know how you do it.
I haven't even. Yeah, I've been thinking about that one for a lot. I haven't even made an issue yet because I didn't. It doesn't seem scoped well, but
Okay.
we're getting closer now that we have like this feedback form and we're saving information on DocAssemble. I think we're like that. It's a lot. It would be a lot easier to than A/B because I think you don't just want to A/B test something. You want to A/B test and then measure something else.
Yeah.
And I think now that we have the ability to actually save some data, we can do the measurement.
Yeah.
So, okay, longer. That's probably more deep dive.
Yeah.
That's all I had for admin.
Yeah.
Michelle, I don't know if I know Caroline, you've heard this multiple times now, but I don't know if you heard this or heard this, Michelle. Actually, I don't know if I've made an announcement anywhere on Teams, but e-filing, we are now officially certified in
Holy
Illinois.
moly! Congrats!
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
It's really good. And I'm meeting. Matt and I are meeting with some clerks on Friday, and if given that meeting goes well, we will probably launch early next week with a pilot, like a small. I say launch because I want to consider it launched, but Matt's making it a pilot, and I think they're going to try and do some have a small amount of people using it, and then either way,
depending on how it happens.
Yes, yeah. But either way, I'll be very closely monitoring the e-filing side and making sure things are going smoothly, and Matt will be closely monitoring the support lines and stuff. So
that's amazing.
That's just sort of what I will be wrapped up in for this week and early next week to make sure that's all ready to go. And I think that's all like only like admin announcements.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any admin things that we should discuss?
Not I.
Yeah.